Good morning everyone and welcome to Talent Boost Breakfast. We are located here in Visitor Center Joki, the heart of Kupittaa area and also the home of World Trade Center. And Kimmo, welcome also to you. It's so nice to see you, flesh and blood.
Good morning once again. Yeah, it's nice to be back in Kupittaa also. Well, I also noticed that the parking prices have gone up, so this is not a good thing. But anyways, it's good to see you gentlemen, and it's good to be here participating in this morning.
Yes, and today's theme we are talking about health, and like we talked here before we started, we are in the capital of health sector in Finland, in Turku. And we want to know where you are from, everyone who are listening and watching. And again, it's breakfast. So what are you having for breakfast and where? And maybe also why?
Is that a valid question? Why?
Yeah.
Why are people having breakfast?
Or why they are having what they are having.
Ah, okay, I see. Good point.
Yeah, it's important for your health.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of an aasinsilta in Finnish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have some instructions, hashtags for today.
Do I? Well, actually, I didn't prepare for this, so you surprised me with this question. But I'm sure that we have hashtags somewhere available, right?
Yeah.
So just if you are watching, remember to share what you are seeing. I think that's the most generic.
Talent Boost.
Talent Boost, breakfast.
HealthTurku.
Health, exactly.
Yeah.
Talent, international talent.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, aasinsilta for the bridge for the first speaker and the opening words for today. Let's start with Tero Piispanen, Senior Executive of HealthTurku in Turku Science Park. The stage is yours.
Good morning also from my behalf and welcome to this Talent Boost breakfast. And thank you Jani for the kind words. You are right, Turku and HealthTurku is the most prominent city in health technology and especially in drug development in Finland. So what I wanted to share with you today is some facts of the entire Finnish health technology and drug development sector. The most important thing is that the sector is of growing importance to Finland. One of the biggest facts is quite recently shown by Etla, an independent Finnish economic research institute, which show that during the past 11 years, the added value of the health tech and research-oriented pharmaceutical sector grew by 80% compared to minus 3% of all Finnish industry sectors. So the health and research-oriented pharmaceutical sector made an all-time high of 2.4 billion euros of added value in Finland. This means in practice that all major companies are doing extremely well. They are hiring more people, which should be interesting for people who are looking for new jobs. And companies and the whole sector is looking for new talents. I come from Turku and I manage the HealthTurku cluster, which is the most prominent life sciences cluster in Finland, because about half of Finland's pharma and diagnostics industry is located in Turku. We got more than 100 companies in the region. About 75% of Finnish pharmaceutical exports comes from here. And also about 50% of Finnish in vitro diagnostics export comes from Turku region. Locally, life sciences is extremely important for the region because 20% of our industrial turnover comes from life sciences, and also 20% of our industrial jobs are in life sciences. And having said that, we also are building the world's biggest cruise ships here locally, which is a big employer. So all in all, we are proud of our sector in Turku because 21 of the 22 Finnish drugs that have been brought to world markets have come from Turku. Our main companies have global presence and global expertise. For example, Bayer's Mirena is Finnish largest pharmaceutical export product. It was developed here in Turku, and it's still the only manufacturing place of Bayer's Mirena product. The sales amounted to more than 1 billion in 2019, and more importantly, Bayer here locally hired more than 100 employees and started a 35 million euro investment program last year. Also, Orion Pharmaceutical, the biggest Finnish pharmaceutical company, has a strong presence in Turku. It has recently concentrated its biological and translational research center here in Turku. They also have launched a 17 million euro investment program last year, and they hired about more than 70 new employees. Turku region in general, on top of diagnostics and drug development, is also quite prominent in functional food research. So brand names such as xylitol and Benecol, they were both, the inventions were developed here in Turku in the 70s and 90s. In the diagnostics sector, the local PerkinElmer Wallac, which is a pioneer in neonatal screening and a world leader in that market, has a team of 700 plus people, and they, in fact, last year they hired more than 150 new employees in the company, and that is largely due to and thanks to the fact that they are selling COVID kits. Radiometer here, which goes under name InnoTrack Diagnostics, focuses on point-of-care diagnostics in heart diseases or acute heart infarction diagnostics. They also recently announced an investment in a new production line, and they are looking for more than 30 new employees. If you see my slides, you can see 30 plus new employees. 30 plus does not mean older than 30, but I think they are hiring people of every age group, professionals. And then we got HiTest, which is a world leader in antibodies and antigens for cardiovascular disease diagnostics or reagents. And they have also, last year, they have launched several kits for the COVID testing industry. COVID tests were also developed by local smaller diagnostic companies such as Abacus Diagnostica, Arctia, and TEPCOMP. In general, and this is my last slide, our industrial and university collaboration is well in shape. We got the player called Health Campus Turku, which combines all of the local research institutes and universities, and that is the main thing, the collaboration between universities and companies, which helps our companies keep on top of of the market and top of the research. Especially important for us is a common wide testbed services called Terttu. And for all companies who are listening to that, I hope that you will be able to try your products in our facilities. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Tero. And a reminder here before we go to our first keynote. We want this to be interactive as well. So if you have questions, comments for our speakers, don't hesitate to write in the chat so that we know what's on your mind, and we have a Q&A session after each speaker. But let's go to our first keynote. And she is Saara Hassinen, Managing Director of HealthTech Finland.
Good morning, everybody. Great to be here. I will tell you why whole health sector needs skilled people. There are many solutions to solve this challenge, and we can do this together. But first, HealthTech Finland is an industry association with over 150 member companies. We also are a platform for cooperation. Health technology is heavily regulated because of the patient safety. We have working groups to help members to take over not only European but also global regulatory affairs. Health technology is also part of health sector, and the cooperation with Pharma Industry Finland is important for our association. Together we have solutions for diagnostics, care, rehabilitation and prevention. Health sector is also characterized by a rich spectrum of service companies, for example, contract manufacturing, research services, services related to clinical trials, regulatory and quality issues are available. For the whole health sector, public and private service providers are consumers. Patient safety is condition for market entry. Medicines have a marketing authorization. Healthcare equipment, supplies and software have their own authorization in Europe CE mark. If we compare health technology to well-being technology, the difference is in the customer. Well-being technology is sold directly to customers. As a matter of fact, it's up to the manufacturer to decide on the intended use, which will determine whether the solution can be used in social and healthcare. In Finland, health technology has turned into one of the fastest growing healthtech sector. The export value of products is about 2.4 billion euros. Over 80% of the products manufactured in Finland are exported. The health technology industry is quite a new healthtech sector in Finland. It has risen during the last 2 decades, 5 to 10% every year. The trade surplus during that time has been 14 billion euros. The largest contributor to the export is Finland's traditionally strong medical device segment. The second biggest contributor to export has been the laboratory diagnostics, in vitro diagnostics segment. In 2020, export of laboratory diagnostics increased as expected, as Finland has strong expertise in the production of COVID-19 tests. Growth was 27% and export rose to the total 830 million euros. The challenging COVID-19 year is reflected in a 10% decline in medical device export to 1.52 billion euros. In some companies, COVID-19 increased export. In some well-run end of the year was not enough to raise export to the previous year's level. Unfortunately, the figures do not include export of digital services or software because no industry-specific data are available. In the technology industries, exports of services typically account for 1/3. Taking that into account, total export of health technology is over 3 billion euros. Health and social care are changing, as you all know, and it can be seen all over the world. Many countries like Finland are currently undergoing sweeping reforms to integrate social and healthcare into one single entity. Sooner or later, the focus of social and healthcare will also shift towards proactive and preventive system instead of focus on expensive treatments. It is also important to target preventive measures for children, young people, people of working age, and also for elderly people, because most people will take of themselves with the help of, for example, various technological solutions. Also, new technologies come everywhere in all industries and thus in the lives of each of us. The huge amount of data, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, 3D printing, fast 5G or 6G connections, VR, AR, XR, and so on. They all have enormous impact also in health, social and healthcare. At the same time, new innovations, results from research bring us new medicines and care, as well as ways to diagnose diseases as early as possible, even before the dangerous symptoms. As the result of successful social and healthcare, life expectancy has increased in many countries. Unfortunately, in many countries such as Finland, there are not enough nurses and assistant nurses to take care of the elderly people in the coming years. On the other hand, well-off retirees are the great resource for volunteering. Fortunately, there are also other ways to solve this problem with the help of technology and work-related immigration, for example. You can also see stars in the pictures. They are factors combining the effect of health of individuals. Research demonstrates that social and healthcare is a relatively weak health determinant, only 10%. Health behaviors such as smoking, diet, exercise are the most important determinants, together with genomics that are many risks. Moreover, there is growing recognition of social and environmental factors. This is also reinforces the trend towards proactive and preventive systems. So there is a huge business potential for companies. Now you know that the sector is heavily regulated, so the regulatory experts are needed. The global potential of technology in social and healthcare is huge, so professionals are needed for all the areas of business. Companies are also born global, so international experts are needed for the wide range of tasks. New technologies and the utilization of data requires completely new kind of expertise. Nor do I want to forget the importance of research as the source of new innovations, so new researchers are also needed there. We have new European legislation, medical device regulation and in vitro diagnostics regulation. According to those regulations, manufacturers must have at least one person responsible for regulatory compliances in their organization with the required expertise. Small companies do not need to have their own person, but they do need to have such a person available permanently and continuously. This is a business potential for service companies, but they also have a need for experts, which increases competition for such people, which already can be seen. So what kind of expertise is needed? University degree, such as law, medicine, pharmacy, engineering, and at least 1 year of work expertise. If you don't have university degree, 4 years of experience is enough. Needed work experience required work with medical device regulation or in vitro diagnostics regulations or quality management systems. As an association, we have collaborated with University of Tampere. They have a training package, regulatory requirements for design and manufacture of medical devices. University students, regardless of the field of the study, can attend those courses. Companies can also participate and thus increase skills of their own staff. So this is a good model for all universities. We have also 3 regulatory working groups for members to learn and to share experience. This is really important for more cooperation for our member companies. There are hundreds of international students in Finland. There are many more of them in the health area than other areas. Unfortunately, these young people are very poorly employed in Finland and they live elsewhere after graduation. One could very easily say that the input was wasted. I would like to encourage all companies to establish contact with international students already during their studies. This requires cooperation with universities. Many exercises can be done in companies and thus get to know each other. There are also special areas for which there are no experts in Finland, and one solution in this point is the work-related immigration. This does not apply only health sector, but the whole Finland needs more work-related immigration. Up to 100,000 experts will be needed by 2030. This is an estimate of Minister of Employment and Economy some time ago. Fortunately, and I should say finally, immigration practical steps are now being prepared. It has been so difficult for a long time. I have heard from companies that the biggest shortage at the moment, in addition to the regulatory experts, is programming experts. Digitalization, data utilization, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence also need data experts. I can easily say that international experts are a huge opportunity for Finland. I told you earlier that many healthtech companies are born global. It's because Finland's market is so small. They all have great innovations, as you can see. When trade is taking place and almost all production is being sold to the world, there is no need to be seen here in Finland. Unfortunately, many companies think so until they realize that recruitment is not successful when no one knows you. We all know that Finland is getting old and not enough babies are born. All industries are competing for future generation and soon for international talents as well. This is our common challenge. Let's talk together about how great innovations and health sector we have and how the work done is for people. This is the industry of future. Thank you.
Thank you, Saara. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can. Hopefully you can also hear me.
Yes, excellent. We have a few questions. Thank you for your great presentation. We talk about a lot about these big companies in Finland who are major players in the import. How do you feel in health sector, SME companies what are their possibilities doing international sales?
Well, one big problem is Finnish market because many companies say that the Finnish market is the strongest one, and that is the one big problem. I also believe in cooperation ecosystems. Big companies, for example, have ecosystem where there are places for smaller companies, or small companies could together think what's they like bigger goal they could together reach. So there are many ways that would help the small companies to grow. Of course, there are financial things and so on, but what I really hope is that Finnish market would be good also for small companies. That could help the export as well.
Okay. Do you think that the Finnish companies are ready to cooperate, or do you see that there's a harsh competition between the companies?
No, I don't believe in competition because Finland is a small country and world is so big that there is market for every company. Maybe it's the culture that we are so used to doing everything by ourselves. Maybe it's a learning process to learn to do things together with somebody else's.
Yeah, that's very true. I think that's something we try to tackle here in the World Trade Center as well, that we want to bring companies together and help them to cooperate and find the right people from the right market. But I will tell more about that a little bit later. What about HealthTech? In HealthTech Finland, in Tero's opening words, we heard a lot about these Turku-based companies who are looking a lot of talent. So how can you help these companies to find the right talent, and what is the need for international talent in HealthTech in Finland at the moment?
Well, I should say, as I mentioned, that regulatory experts are needed, and I also mentioned that the collaboration we have done with University of Tampere, and I really hope that many universities would have this kind of courses, training packages, including regulatory things. And I also like to thank Saranen Consulting, who has for many years helped the industry to get new talents. And I also see a university's role in helping companies to establish contacts with international students already during their studies. I should take that is some kind of low-hanging fruit. So if the goal is to increase the number of international students, we do everything we can to reach that goal. Think if the goal were that those students would have a job in Finland after graduation, all would work for that aim. So choosing right method is really important as well.
Okay. What about the future? How do you see the future in HealthTech in Finland? What do you think will happen in the next 10 years, for example?
Well, health technology globally grows over 5% every year in coming years. And Finland has shown that we have good companies, we have good established companies, we are good growth companies, and when the small companies will grow as well, we have like very, very good fruitful like ecosystems to bring solutions to whole world. And so I think that Finland has good possibilities also because we know the technology. We are very, very, very involved in genomics and artificial intelligence, which are very important future trends all over the world. So I think that in Finland we are in very good position.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think it's time to move forward for our next keynote. Harriet Gullstén, who is a Senior Advisor and Product Management in Business Finland. And the theme is something that Saara already mentioned, the money in the sector.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the organizers to invite me to give a talk about this Talent Explorer funding. First, I will tell you about the Business Finland and our services for the companies. We have 650 people working for us. Offices we have in Finland 16 and abroad 42. We have different type of the services. Some of them are digital, like dealflow.fi. We help you to access the market, like we have market access programs to US and China. And about this China, I will tell you in the end of my talk. We work with the accelerations and collaborate with them abroad. We have soft landing platforms in Asia and US where you can provide, where you can get office space and operative support. We are part of the Enterprise Europe Network EEN, where we collaborate with the different countries, and we help to advise the companies with the legal and internationalization. We also support the companies to find the partners in different countries in Europe. We also do some delegations and visit to different target markets. And we have 16 programs ongoing. We have ecosystems in Finland which works as an incubator for innovations, and they are also meant for the value proposition. On top of that, probably companies are interested in hearing on funding. And yes, this is a slide of a couple of our funding instruments. 3 first, Innovation Voucher, Explorer, and Tempo, they are de minimis grants. 80, 75, 60 to 40% of grant. These are meant for the get ready, go to market phase. With the Tempo, you can do piloting and prototyping and so on as well. Explorer funding family is meant for export, to sort of help you to get into the market, understand the culture and those kind of things, what type of the product would work on that market and so on. Then we have R&D, new, into funding and so on, which are meant for the growth, renew, scaling up. This is the table of 2019 funding. So annually we fund over €500 million and mostly startup companies. Then Talent Explorer. So this service is meant SME and mid-cap companies. The total budget of the project can be 20 to 40,000 euros, and the grant is 50%. And this is de minimis funding. As a company, you need to follow what is your quota for de minimis, because the current and 2 previous years are counted and needs to be less than 200,000 euros. What is the talent? What we are looking for with this service is that you find an expert to promote your internationalization. So the market or customer segments needs to be new, and the talent needs to have a language cultural know-how or international business know-how. There is a limit for this funding, so 3 projects per company or concern. The duration for the project is 6 to 12 months. And I jump into the next slide. So what the talent can do then? It's meant for sort of investigate the potential target market. The person can create an internationalization plan, strategy, do some research on market, customer, retailer, distributor, and so on. The person can also analyze the need for localization and so on. The person will be hired to Finland, and it works from Finland, but it can visit longer periods abroad. So this can be lower your sort of a possibility to get into the market, because you have the person, if it's very suitable for you and you're happy with the person, maybe the person can help you out to get into the market, to set up a office there or so on. How to apply? We have this online service. You need to clarify the status of your company, the products. Product needs to be in a piloting phase at least. Then you have to confirm the strategy of your growth at the target market. And then you need to explain why you choose this talent. So you need to know the talent beforehand. And as an attachment, you have to provide CV of the person and the fresh accounting run. Talent needs to be new for the company. Less than 50% of contract earlier, that can be still count in. And the person needs to be hired after the application is sent to us. Our processing time for the applications is approximately 21 days, depending on the queue of the person who is handling the application. All right, and then an example. This is a true story without any names. Anyhow, so innovation was okay. Evaluation, we always check the financial situation of the company. So rating alpha was okay. There wasn't any tax debts. Team was okay, which means that it needs to be more than one person. So at least 2 dedicated person for the project, and or actually for the company itself. The own equity is okay. There is a new market or customer segment, and there is no other previous project to the same market. You can have Talent Explorer at the same time as Tempo, for instance, but then you need to justify that you have the resources enough. So financial and personal resources. Then please explain the need, like in this example. So the company needed a specialist to Mexican market to do the market survey, search the potential distributors, and know the local business culture. And what they found a Mexican married to a Finn and living in Finland, who knows the market, speaks the language, knows the culture, and also happened to know the industry. So this was a perfect match. When you send an application, so no project plan is needed. So only type in the online your application and then at the attachment CV and the accounting run. All right, Explorer family has four members, and Market Explorer is similar type of the service as Talent. It's half of it, but you can get some reports, so you can buy the service from consultant if you are heading, for instance, Germany, Spain, and France, and want to do it in a one time. So this is possible. And but the end of this project, you have only the reports. If you hire a talent, you have the person, which can do many other things, and you can teach the person, and hopefully you find it good for your company's growth and wish to hire the person. All right, then I jump into the market access program. So we have two programs to states, to UCLA, GAP program, and similar type of the service we have to China. So two universities, Fudan and Tsinghua. What is this kind of a service? It means that at these universities they have MBA teams, which 3 to 5 people, and they are doing their final study. And if you apply to this program, you need to have revenue turnover for a year over the million, and you really need to want to go to China, because it takes years to get into there, do the market entry really, and it would be good that you would have at least one person at China and that market. What else? What the team will do? They work 6 months. It costs 15,000 euros for you, so you pay to the university. We have MO agreement with the university, and I'm the key person to discuss with this type of the application. For instance, we have the deadline for the call to Tsinghua by the end of this month, but we have two calls during the autumn time. And team will make market analysis for market entry, feasibility analysis for the business operations, and so on. All right, I will stop here. Time to think big, and I'm expecting for lots of questions. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Harriet. And it seems that you have a very good chat and good questions coming up, so keep doing that. Harriet, can you hear me well?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, excellent. Few questions.
Yes.
How well are these Explorer funding tools used in Finland at the moment?
Oh, they are very popular. We have received, I guess, nearly 30 million euros, applications for 30 million euros, and we have funded over the half of the applications. Group Explorer and Talent Explorer, we got into our service portfolio 2019. So since then, those has been growing a lot. Of course, Corona has affected on exhibition explorers and market explorers, but otherwise, talent has been very popular.
Okay. What about, do you have any data, like for example, from Turku area, how much companies have applied the funding here?
Well, you should have asked this earlier, so I could have given you some numbers, but I cannot recall. I have those numbers, so the Helsinki area is the number one certainly, but I think you need to improve your performance here.
Exactly. Well, that leads to my next question. How could I, as a director of the World Trade Center Turku, help you and help the companies here in Turku to be more aware of these possibilities and these funding options?
I see. Well, we are happy to help. We can come and talk and present as much as you need. And I think it's a question of repeat. So there is always some people who are not aware, and you just always needs to repeat, and with the media as well. So.
Okay. Yes. What about your?
If you find some cases which are successful, so that would be nice to have a media case from Turku region, so people really know that okay, if they can, then I can.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's also already almost answered my next question. I was supposed to ask about the communication, especially to the SME sector, but that's probably what you do. You do a lot of field work. Well, in the Corona time, it's a little bit different, but probably a lot of webinars. But these kind of success stories is probably a good way to tell it forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree.
Well, I hope that one thing that is coming up from here is that we close our cooperation between the World Trade Center and Business Finland, so that we can get the number higher here in the Turku region as well, because I have some effort to do that and contact. I'm in touch with a lot of companies, so we can focus on that here as well. I think that's about it. We have the panel coming up next, but thank you, Harriet. And let's move forward. Let's welcome Kimmo back to stage and our panelists.
So good morning again. Get ready for the panel discussion. We've got a lovely group of people here this morning with me. We are a bit ahead of schedule, so don't worry about it and don't look at your watches. So how are you guys this morning? Everybody got to kupittaa on time. Janette also, yes. She was a bit worried about that. Things are fine. Yes. Let's start with, well, first of all, we forget about the money for a while now, and we're going to focus on the people. So we're going to focus on the talents. A lot of the people who are watching, a lot of the people that I've spoken to over the years are very interested in personal paths. So for example, how you guys came to be in the position and what you are doing now and so on and so on. So we're going to focus on the paths, on the people, talk a bit about what it's like for international people to work in Finland. We're going to suggest that you come to Finland, of course. But let's start with the introductions, right? So please introduce yourselves briefly.
Hello, my name is Maarit Merla. I'm Head of Business Development at Forendo Pharma. Forendo Pharma is Turku-based company in a clinical stage of pharmaceutical development. We are focusing on women's health as a therapeutic area and a certain enzyme family called HSD17 betas, which we call our intracrinology platform. I've been working with Forendo now almost 6 years. I came to the pharma industry from medical devices, from PerkinElmer, where actually Claude is based at the moment, and I've been working in this health technology area for roughly 20 years without a scientific background as such, because I'm from my personal educational background, I have a master's degree in economics, in marketing communications, so that's exceptional for this industry to have this kind of background. But still here I am talking to investors and pharma companies about our products and technologies, so it's very possible to have this kind of career path as well.
Good morning, my name is Claude Lamoureux and I am Data Protection Officer at PerkinElmer Wallac. And the journey that brought me on this chair today started over 36 years ago.
Wow.
As I spent 1 year as an exchange student here in Turku. And after my degree in languages in Montreal, I came back to Finland, to Turku, to start other studies at University of Turku. And during my university studies, I started working for a small company providing language services to PerkinElmer Wallac. And at some stage, I was offered the opportunity to pursue my career at the employment of PerkinElmer Wallac. So the languages path and my studies in business brought me first into a software localization role, and then from there into compliance, quality system compliance, and all this after 25 years at the employment of PerkinElmer Wallac, I'm in the role of data protection officer.
Right, right. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Janette.
Good morning. My name is Janette Uusitalo, and I have to say that you have a very interesting background for this field, and it really describes my experiences also. I work for Saranen. It's a company that helps growing companies to tackle the recruitment and competence renewal challenges. We have helped several companies to find future talents through these recruitment programs. It's a solution where you can find not maybe the highest skilled talents, but the best personalities for different roles. And there are a lot of backgrounds who have like different paths to this field, so it's possible for everyone. And my part here today is probably to represent all the discussions I have with different companies and also the active job seekers. My path for the health tech field started in like about 4 years ago when we did our first program here in Turku. And since that I have fell in love with this field because it's full of interesting choices and all the companies do such an amazing job to make this Finland and world better place for regarding the health industry. It's amazing for me to follow the field like next to it.
Right. And what's your educational background?
I'm also a Master of Economics, and I have also studied some IT before, but I have no health experience also.
Right.
And I think that helps me to find like the business solutions and understand the companies what they really want to have based on the growth they want to find.
Right, right. And that's interesting. So we have 4 people here on the stage right now, and all of you more or less say that you are not professionals in health tech in a way. Yet you are, of course, but not based on where your path started in the first place. That's so right. You've sort of found your way into this thing, and now, of course, you all can call yourselves professionals. And Claude, you've been here a long time, so you speak fluent Finnish, for example.
Yes.
And how was that in the beginning?
Well, the funny thing is that when I applied to spend a year as an exchange student, we were not allowed to choose where to go. So I was sent a letter telling me that I was coming to Finland and Turku. And the reason for spending a year as an exchange student was to learn the culture and the language.
Right.
So living in a host family here in Turku was the starting block for me. And I did manage to learn, and I also studied the language. And as a bonus of that, I married a Swedish-speaking Finn. So I got that language as well.
Right,
Yes.
right. And how do you see yourself in the beginning? I mean, did you make a conscious effort to learn the language?
Yes.
You did.
Yes.
And looking back now, would you recommend it to people?
Absolutely, and not just for the sake of finding work, to find your place in your local community, and then the whole social dimension
right.
of communicating in the language where you live.
Right.
Yes. In parallel to that, I would say that to find work nowadays, especially in the health industry, and how specialized assignments there are in this industry, I would argue that the necessity of learning Finnish in a professional, technical perspective is not as strong maybe as back in the late 80s or 90s.
Right.
However, it's indispensable for contributing to the local community and finding your place anyway.
Right, right.
Yes.
How do you guys see this? I mean, Janette, you see a lot of people, you see a lot of applicants, international people. How do you see the language right now? We're getting to the hot topic right away. So I was going to save this for later, but let's talk about it right now. So how do you see it at the moment? I mean, for example, at your viewpoint, do you take in people who only speak foreign languages, so no Finnish at the moment? How do you see it from your...
Yeah, as a very small startup company, we are employing 25 people at the moment, and the latest recruitments have been in the lab work. So that's one aspect where the technical skills is the primary driver of selection of a person. But I don't think that we would discriminate based on the language, because more or less our official language is English, because we are backed by Western European VCs. We work a lot internationally, so the most of our documentation and presentations, everything is in English. So it's not necessarily practically to know Finnish in this position. And we have native Swedish-speaking people also in the team.
Right.
But it really depends on the position. What's that position all about?
Right.
Is there a requirement for a local language or not?
Right. What would you say? I mean, coming from a big company, are there people who don't speak Finnish at the moment?
Yes.
Any idea how many? A lot, or?
I would say a handful, maybe.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Still, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And Janette, I know that you have a lot to talk about this, so where would you start even?
No, I think my experience based on the discussions is that there are still some challenges. I think Healthtech field is like one of the most advanced, like when you talk about the language barrier or the cultural differences. There are still some companies that even might have the official language as an English, but still most of the people are here in Finland and speaking Finnish as their mother language. So still the companies want the new talents to speak at least the coffee table discussion Finnish. So it's, even though now we're all doing distance jobs, so it might be not that many coffee moments, but anyway, it's still a challenge. But I don't think it's a barrier, but what the companies wait for the applicants to have the skill set. For example, in my opinion, it's higher for the international talents than the Finnish-speaking talents. So because I work mostly with not the highest experts, I work with the future talents. So the ones who are still searching for a job or trying to find a new job for them. So for them, they are not ready for the job based on their skills. Maybe some people are, but like they have something to train.
Right.
And in those cases, the requirements are sometimes higher for the persons who doesn't speak Finnish. But I agree with Maarit that it depends on the role, because there are some roles where you don't need Finnish at all, and there are some roles that you have to have it, because, for example, if you have Finnish clients who doesn't speak maybe English, you have to have a person who knows Finnish also. But it's still an issue, but not as high as some other fields. So I think HealthTech field is advanced on that.
Right. How do you see this? I mean, I have this sort of, I've worked with international people in Finland for a number of years now. And before this whole COVID madness, I sort of thought that we were making the next breakthrough in a way, that we would see certain or even more international people not speaking Finnish getting the jobs. But at least from my perspective, COVID put a stop on that, sort of, or at least it's on hold. Do you agree with this? I mean, have you seen something with this regard in the past year? And you can speak about the whole, let's say, how has your world in terms of the health tech sector developed over the past year? A lot of questions in the same sentence, but how do you see it?
Well, I've been personally surprised how little effect the COVID pandemic has had on the day-to-day work from a business development perspective, because my role used to be filled with travel, meeting people internationally, and now everything is happening over Zoom and Teams, and it still works. And there's a lot of money in the health tech industry, so the funds are full, and VCs are looking for investment cases. So from that perspective, it hasn't changed. And I think we will go back to some sort of hybrid model, probably, working partly remotely, so we won't travel as much as we used to for a 1-hour meeting maybe in London. So we may consider seriously taking the Teams instead of a personal meeting. But it's changed sort of very little to us, in my opinion. And in talking about this international recruiting, so as a small company, like I mentioned, we don't have that many open positions, and actually we are recruiting at the moment for an open chief medical officer position, but that's going to be in the US, because that's where our next clinical studies will be conducted. But I don't think we think of that this difference between a Finnish applicant and an international one. It's all about the role and the qualifications for the role, really.
So an applicant is an applicant?
Yes.
Exactly, yeah. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think that's a great example of a company that finds the way to find the right talent and not take the language as a barrier, for example.
Right.
I think it's a great example.
And this whole, well, if you look at, for example, export business, typical like an old school trade position where people had to travel abroad. They had to spend time in these countries where they wanted to export the business from Finland. But now, for example, you can hire an international person who speaks the language, knows the country, and they can still sit in Finland. So, I mean, I've seen examples of this in local health tech companies that they are, and actually this is something that they are struggling with. So they want somebody who's an expert in the US market, for example. How do you find a person like that here? Or do you hire that person there? And that's something that is in flux all the time as well. What about if you talk about skills, and I'm not talking about health tech specific skills, what has changed over the past years? Not only during COVID, but do you see an increase in certain skills, or what's the movement of personal skills, if you will?
If I start,
Yeah.
so from my perspective, I think what the VCs, for our world, VCs are important because they fund our operation. So they are looking for diversity in the team. They are specifically looking for a team that's not only science background people, but have other skills as well, because you need to have communication skills, you need to have different sets of skills to manage finances, seek for financing. So that's the kind of diversity that I think wasn't there as strong maybe 10 years ago or so. But it's also maybe a reflection of a small company where you need to do a multitude of things with a very, very small team. But I think that external requirement for diversity and multi-skilled people has really increased in the past. So I think that's something to keep in mind, even if you're a very skilled technology expert, it's good to look at these other areas and try to gain those skills, because then you have ability for career development.
Right.
Yeah.
What I see is that yet I have not had the privilege of recruiting, but I'm involved sometimes in discussions about candidates. And in this present situation, recruiting a candidate just on remote connection without meeting the person is quite a challenge. And the other thing is that something that was not as evident 10 years ago is the whole dimension of privacy and personal data, how much you may want to disclose on camera, on interview, and how much will you put in your CV that could be subject to eventually discrimination, or so that's something that I have to address.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I come back to your last question also, I think last spring was the moment when most of the companies kind of like pressed the panic button and was like, what should we do now? Like, we can't go to the fairs, we don't have the distributors there, we can't go there and train them and have the local connections. But I think they have found their way. They have new solutions coming in different companies, how they can still do the business even when they are not there presenting. And the skills change is, I would say, I agree, like you need more skills than the actual technical skills, and you have to be more like communicative skills and things like that. But I think if you think about the roles where in my experience the companies have mostly challenges is the technical roles, for example software roles, software programmers, and also because the field is highly regulated, so the regulatory roles are still, like, there are a lot of people who needs to know the quality issues and like quality management systems and things like that, and that's one thing that the companies are struggling, that they don't have the enough people who knows the regulatory things and the definitions how to work in that field.
Right.
But I think there are a role for everyone, so you just have to find the right role for you. If you think about the perspective of a job seeker, just like, you don't have to be a super person to find a job from the health tech field, but you have to find the role good for you, and the companies need to think about different personalities and find a suitable place for everyone.
How do you see this? You've done a lot of recruitment. So first of all, you've recruited people now without seeing them in person. But you've seen a lot of people from diverse backgrounds, different kinds of education. So, and this is a hard one now, because I'm sure that there are a lot of people asking, so how do I actually get a job in Finland? What is needed? And we all say that it's different kinds of skills. So we're not answering, we're not helping actually very much. But is there a way, I mean, can you, for example, based on your experience, can you summarize what the companies here in Finland, if it's HealthTech or whatever, what do they look at when it comes to an international applicant?
You always talk about the good guy and the
Right.
right attitude.
Right.
So I think that's a big thing actually, that you have to be motivated to learn and show it. I think the biggest challenge for job seekers in general is that they don't know how to tell about their competencies and how to tell for the employers that what they know and what kind of job, what kind of employees they are, because it's a different thing to search for a job and do the job. So there are a lot of people who are actually very good at doing the job, but they don't know how to tell that to the employees.
Sell themselves in a way also, yeah.
So it's a big thing, and it's the same for the international and the Finnish applicants.
Right.
They are struggling, but I think networking is a really good thing. Just talk to people and tell them that you are searching for a job. It's the first thing. There are a lot of, even now there are a lot of happenings and places where you can like show up and,
Right.
and tell that.
Or
you
they
are
used to be at least.
Yeah, they used to be, but even now there are some online events and things
Right,
like this, and
right.
just be active. I think there is a place for everyone. You just have to find it, and it's a hard thing to do, but there is ways. But I think many people are shy to tell that they are, for example, unemployed or they are searching for a job. It's kind of like a personal struggle to say it aloud.
Yes.
But I think that's one step to do. It's a concrete tip. Just say everyone that you are searching for a job.
Right. Right.
It's a one thing.
Yeah.
What I would recommend, I'm not advertising LinkedIn, but I think that's a platform which we always, every time I meet a new person, there's a meeting, there's a host of people, I look at everyone's LinkedIn profile if we have common people that we know, what's the background, scientific background, personal background. So it's a very good tool, and I think already students should sort of register and start building their CV there and describe themselves, because the CV and application for a job is one thing, but people many often look at who other people does this person know, and what are the interests. If you start to follow health tech groups in LinkedIn, you will show up more. So I think that's sort of the electronic networking tool that's really easy and cheap to access, and then you can even message via that. So that's one practical thing I think applicants should consider.
Yes, that's a good tip.
And one interesting part is that I do the same, and I'm constantly surprised by when I look at people's profile about I'm surprised by their backgrounds.
Yeah.
Sometimes seems that the person on LinkedIn, they have a good job. Very good job. They have, they're highly visible, but there might be a very direct path for them also. And I think this is a common misconception. I mean, all of us, including me, we are sort of, how would I say this? We are sitting here because life happened in a way.
Yes.
And it's not like that everybody has to have a PhD or a master's in whatever. And this is the interesting part about LinkedIn, that you see how people got to these positions.
Yeah.
And when you actually discuss with these people, it's, they're just like me in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Claude.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I'm looking at you because you have this. I mean, you've been here a long time already. But let's say that if, would you do something different?
No.
And this is like, well, yeah, that's it. I'm not going to ask anything else. But how do you see, times were different, of course, when you came here,
yes.
Definitely. But looking back now, and then how the world seems now, what would be your tip for somebody? First of all, let's talk about people who want to come to Finland, and they get a chance to come here. What is your, top 3 advice?
Well, to get here, networking from an electronic perspective, as described by Maarit, is indispensable. However, if I started my exchange student year in Turku today, I'm not sure I would get as much from a cultural perspective as I did back in '84, because there was no internet, there were no mobile phones. If I made a phone call to Canada from Turku, it was a real event, right? So I had no choice, and I insisted on absorbing everything I could from. And sometimes I felt maybe I was here in my previous life. I don't know, because it felt as such a good fit.
Right.
So networking to get here, absolutely. Once here, my second advice would be to absorb the local culture, local networking, not necessarily from an electronic perspective, but from a really practical.
Right.
Yes.
Get out of the bubble in a way.
Yes. And the third thing is to listen.
Oh, good one.
Yes. So the one thing I learned throughout my career so far is, and that's something as an auditor I practice very much, but listen and you'll see.
Oh, wow.
Yes. In French it says écoutez pour voir.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. and listen, because you will see opportunities. And that goes back to Maarit's, to her point there, that if you see opportunities and you take 1 or 2 steps forward in that direction, and you take similar steps in another direction to see where it can work. So that's very important, and that's what tools nowadays like LinkedIn allow us to do.
Right.
So to listen and to analyze what should be the next move, and then take courage and make some moves. So that's the...
First of all, I'm going to steal that sentence, because I've never heard that in this context, and I love it. It's actually, it makes all the world of sense. And I would also, I mean, in relation to what Janette was saying and what you are saying, so first of all, get out of that bubble, but say to people actively that you're looking for a job and what you want. And this is something that I tell to a lot of people always, is that when you say that I need help, you will get help.
And I would add one thing, that also think what you want to do.
Right.
And say that aloud, because it's
Right.
even easier to find the opportunities for other people, for you, if you say what you want to do.
Right.
Like, I want to find this kind of job, I want to find this kind of job environment, or this kind of company. It's easier for people to take the hint and find the place for you by accident or something like this. It's sometimes. And I would also add one thing for the companies in these discussions, like when you're hiring people, that they are also like human. Sometimes I think that companies are thinking too much about what they have done before, and if they want to do the same still, and like they are searching for from the CV, that if they have the things that are there are still the ones that they want to do in the future, but it might be completely different. So in my recruitment experience, I have seen that most of the people want to have an advantage of the things they have done before, but also most of the people want to learn new things, or they want to have a different kind of role. For example, someone who has been a supervisor maybe doesn't want to be it anymore, but sometimes companies think that, okay, she or he has been a supervisor, so he doesn't enjoy this role for a long time because he wants to go forward. But it might be different. Just ask from the applicants also what they want to do. It's not the same what they have done previously.
Right.
That's a challenge for the companies, to find the potential for the future, and not maybe the skills and the things they have done before.
Right. And this is another topic that we don't have time for today, so the role of the recruiter. We'll not get into that today. But so we talk about the people, so we put a lot of, let's say, pressure on the international talents. But what about the companies? How do you see the role of companies nowadays in terms of has that changed in your view? How do you keep good employees on board? Do you see any developments on this? And specifically the role of the company?
I think the engagement of the employees is really important nowadays, especially now when it's like I have a lot of experience of the technical roles, like for example the IT field or something like this. They are very like hot topic nowadays. So you, as a company, you want to keep them, and you want them to be happy at the job and like engage to your company. I think it's a really important thing for the role of the company. Think that your company is a good place to work.
Right.
From my perspective, I think giving independence to people, not to control them too much and not to give direct guidance or micromanage. I think a lot of people in technology field want to have this independence within their role. Of course, there's guidance to what the company goals are and what the direction is, but as much independence, in my perspective, gives people opportunity to grow. And I've been fortunate to have that opportunity, both in the careers from PerkinElmer and at Forendo, so that I've been given this opportunity to build the role around my skill set and experience and thrive with that. So that's been very motivating as an employee to have that independence.
Yeah, Claude, any thoughts on this?
Yes, if I was to recruit someone today, I would make sure that the candidate could see beyond the specific task that is open or the position. In other words, you get started here, but you know what could happen if you find your place and you want to move beyond within the company, that there are lots of opportunities rather than limiting or focusing too much on the exact. Once you know you have a good candidate, don't hesitate showing the doors that could be opened eventually.
Exactly, and this is what Janette was saying also, that when you find the right person, basically look beyond the position that you are employing at that point. Yeah, cool. We're actually running out of time. Sorry guys, it always goes very fast. One last question, and this is basically, what comes out of the top of your head? What would you say to international talents who are thinking about Finland? Why Finland? Simple question, isn't it?
You surprised me with a simple question.
Out of the top of your head.
Yeah, I think this is a country where it's a good environment to live and work in. People are open, and although there's maybe cultural criticism of what kind of people Finns are, but we are really open and straightforward, and it's a perfect environment to work, and there's a lot of opportunities, even though we are a small country. So excellent. Welcome.
Claude.
Quality of life.
Oh yes, the best one actually.
We put all the parameters there: education, health, all of that. Coming from Canada.
Yeah, and you speak from experience.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Welcome. Yeah.
Janette.
Yeah, I heard we are the happiest country in the world, so why not? And I would say, we have beautiful nature. We have a lot of opportunities. I agree with all the things they said. So it's a great place to live and work.
Fully agree. And that's actually time for us to wrap this up. Thank you very much, guys. This was really wonderful, and we need to talk about the recruitment side at some later event somewhere. So thank you, everybody. And that's it actually for the panel, and we're going to have some closing words now after this.
Welcome back for the last words, and great job, Kimmo.
Thank you.
What a great discussion.
Thank you. Same for you. Well, at least your intro and everything here. I mean, you're a professional as always.
Yes, thank you. Well, we have had an amazing morning. A lot of information, and I want to add a few things what you discussed in the panel. Because I represent World Trade Center, we give possibilities to international talent as well. I have trainees working with me, and my goal is always to help them go wherever they want.
Right.
Unfortunately, I'm not able to pay them at the moment. We don't have a budget for that. But my goal is that they work with me 2 to 3 months, find the right network, talk with the right people who has the international mindset, and then move forward to paid position.
Right. And this applies, and we've both done it in the past also, and we've discussed about this. So it's a small city in comparison, and we know a lot of people, and everybody knows each other. So find help. That would be the first thing. Ask people, how do you get these trainee positions, or open up. Ask for help if you are an international people and struggling for what you want to do here.
Yes. And of course, a little advertisement for the World Trade Center Turku. We have these international meetups roughly once a month. Next one is coming on 27th on the afternoon from 2 to 4 p.m. And we last time in the late March, we had roughly 55, 60 people join from 13 different countries. So it's an international setup where you can find matchmaking, a lot of networking, and few keynotes. And the next one we have is about Finnish design.
Oh wow, big
Yeah,
one also.
we have Drop Design Pool, and then we have IPR. One of our partners, Gullstén, is talking about the importance of IPR. And then we move to Japan in May. What are the possibilities for the Finnish companies go to Japan? And that's probably something interesting for the health sector as well. And like I mentioned earlier, we have this sort of cooperation thing coming up where we start building consortiums. But you can learn more about that in the future. So you should definitely look me up from LinkedIn if we haven't already talked.
Me too.
Yeah. And LinkedIn is actually a great place.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the best tools at the moment.
Yes, definitely.
And I think it's going to continue to be that, at least for some time.
And also with the talent boost, we will continue.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And think about topics. I mean, you saw today also that there's a lot of this discussion could go on and on and on.
Yes.
So it would be nice to hear from the audiences also. What should be the next talent boost breakfast be about, for example? Yeah. So all ideas are welcome.
Yeah. And I would say that it's probably after summer since the spring is coming up pretty fast.
Right.
But stay tuned. Follow us. Follow the hashtags and all of us. And stay tuned for more.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jani.
Thank you. And
thanks
by the way,
for everybody,
we had the breakfast challenge. There was again a lot of coffee drinkers.
Yeah,
I checked the chat. A lot of you are just drinking coffee in the morning. That's not very healthy, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. You need something solid also.
But Finns like porridge as well.
Oh yes.
There's a lot of porridge. And some are just eating bread.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
Thanks for the wrap up. And I would say that that's it for us.
Yes.
And I wish everybody a very, very good weekend. So remember to rest.
Remember to rest. Okay.
Thanks.
Bye for now.
Ciao. Bye bye.